welcome everyone to today's Dose of Togetherness. If you're just joining us, why don't you share where you're calling in from and maybe what you did over Father's Day or whatever you did over this weekend if you weren't necessarily celebrating that as a special day. Let's see if we get anyone in the chat here. I don't see anyone yet. Let me see, is anyone, hello? Great to see you guys in the chat. There we go. All right. There you, okay. Hi in Oakland. It's so good to see you. Yes, Juneteenth. I would say I also watch the movie Harriet, which if you haven't seen that movie, was just an incredible, incredible film. Hi from Tunisia. Great to see you in Tunisia and Castro Valley. Fabulous. Thanks for joining us. Okay, now let's get going. My name, of course, is Brad Wolf. I am the founder and executive director of Reimagine. I've been your host here on these Dose of Togetherness events, and it's just great to be with you. Reimagine is an organization that talks about these hard things: caregiving, grief, dying, death, remembrance, but always with an eye toward how do we live our lives more fully while we can? How do we celebrate the people that matter most and live our lives with intention and love? And this event is part of Reimagine Life, Loss, and Love. It's our virtual festival, which has had almost 450 events now and 25,000 attendees. The Dose of Togetherness is really our anchor event, so this is the place to be to really get a sense of what it is that we do together. And you are what makes it special. Now, I want to thank all of our incredible sponsors for making this possible. I want to give deep thanks and acknowledge the generosity specifically of Remembering a Life for really underwriting this work. This organization, Remembering a Life, provides information for planning memorial services and for grief with special resources available during COVID-19 at rememberingalife.com. Now, this, as you may know her, is the incredible Dara Cosberg. She always looks like this. Dara, that smile honestly is the best smile. She is responsible for this event, for booking our incredible guests. She's telling us some things that are important. Share your comments and questions in the chat as you're doing. Turn on your camera, preferably, so we can see her smiling faces like hers, smiling back at her. And turn on your mic when we get to the breakout sessions, which are really the highlight of our time together to explore some of the themes that come up during our talk. If you have any questions, you can text us at hello@letsreimagine.org and we can help you. Now, we're going to begin today's session with a meditation from my colleague, Margaret, who is just so lucky every time we get to be with her because her meditations really have this way of lifting us up, and I'm just so grateful that she's part of our team and can be here with us today. So Margaret, take it away.
Thank you, Brad. I'd like to invite everyone to uncross your legs if they're currently crossed and plant your feet firmly on the ground, allowing your eyes to come to a close and feeling one line of energy from the base of your spine through the crown of your head, resting your palms on your lap. They could be faced up or palms stacked on one another. And just coming into this place of stillness and of alignment in your body. Slowly bringing your attention to your breath, feeling your abdomen expand on the inhalation and soften on the exhalation. Inhale as the belly expands, exhale as the belly softens. And as you find a spaciousness in your mind's eye, I want you to invite a person who you love very much into the center of your heart. And it could be someone who is alive and is a big part of your life in this present time, or someone from the past who has passed on or who you're no longer in contact with. Could be a spiritual teacher or a guide. It could be your father or mother, a beloved, a friend. And I want you to feel this person sitting next to you on your right side. And as you bring this person into your space, I want you to feel their love entering your body. This person comes with blessings and wishes for you and your safety, for your well-being and your happiness. Now I want you to invite a second person into your heart. And imagine this person sitting on your left side. And this person is bringing you well wishes for your health and your happiness. And open yourself to receive the blessings and the love from these two beings. Now expand your circle and invite in all of the people who immediately enter your space who love you dearly. And picture yourself sitting in a circle of your dearest friends and family, receiving their wishes and their blessings for your health and your happiness. May you live with ease. May you be happy. May you be free from pain. May you live with ease. May you be happy. May you be free from pain. And as your inhalation deepens, I want you to feel this overflowing warmth and love entering every cell of your body. And on your exhalation, soften into the beauty and the tranquility of this safe space. And slowly, as you melt into this sense of unconditional love, expand this circle of friends and family to encompass everyone in your community, everyone whose path you have crossed in this life, everyone in your state, in this country, allowing this to ripple out through the oceans and expanding to encompass all beings who cohabitate this earth with us. And as you feel this energy of the whole globe surrounding you, surrounding those you love most, cultivating this blessing that you receive from your loved ones and sending it out to all beings in the earth. May you live with ease, happiness, and good health. May you live with ease, happiness, and good health. May you live with ease, happiness, and good health. And returning your attention to the breath, continuing internally to sit with this mantra. May you live with ease, happiness, and good health. Feeling the love from all beings circling around you. And as you move that love through yourself, sending that love back out to all beings. And slowly place your hands on your abdomen, taking 5 deep breaths, feeling the sensation of the belly expanding with the inhalation and softening with the exhalation. Keeping your eyes closed, bringing your palms to touch and begin rubbing your hands together, creating heat between the palms. And slowly placing your hands over your eyes. Opening your eyes and returning your palms to your lap, entering the space. And I wish you ease, happiness, and good health as we enter this new summer season and this time of flourishing and this time of growth. And may you continue to receive love from all those in your life and send love to all whose paths you cross. Thank you.
Thank you, Margaret. I'd be curious if you feel open to sharing who you brought next to you on either side of you. Just to say and you can share that in the chat. For myself, I didn't know where you're going with this, Margaret, but the first person that came to mind for me was Harriet Tubman. So I had Harriet Tubman and my grandfather sitting next to me, and I honestly felt initially just so in awe of the people I was around, but also guilty. Why would Harriet Tubman have time to spend with me? And then I try to remember that, yeah, this is just in my mind. But it was so powerful to after I mentioned just watching her movie or a movie about her this week, to then have her next to me and thinking about the love that she was radiating and she had for all the people that she saved. To have her so close, I don't know, it was really powerful. So yeah, curious who you out there brought next to you, and to have her next to my grandfather, who was an Auschwitz survivor, to think about their own kind of the relationship between their two journeys was really really profound. So let's see. Now I'm excited to move to this next part of our program for some inspiration. And today we're so lucky to have Tara Rynders join us. Tara Rynders has been a nurse for over 15 years and works at Rose Medical Center as a nurse specialist in wellness and resiliency, and this is in Colorado. And she has a bachelor's degree in nursing, a bachelor's in Spanish, and a master's in fine arts with a specialization in dance, movement, and somatic practice. She's also a certified grief recovery specialist, and she has worked to combine her expertise in arts, dance, and movement with her nursing practice to create immersive experiences for colleagues in healthcare that support self-care and raise awareness about the detrimental effects of compassion fatigue, burnout, and secondary traumatic stress. And she's been doing some incredible work with Reimagine and really on her own to bring these things to fruition, all the way from Denver to New York, where she's prototyping something that she's going to share with us today. So thank you for joining us, Tara.
Hi, thank you for having me. Thank you for that introduction, Brad. I first wanted to give a shout out and thanks for Friday's Dose of Togetherness with Stephanie Rivers and LaToya Cooper. It was incredible, and I really appreciated hearing about death and dying from the Black community. And I'm hoping there'll be a follow-up conversation. So that's just my plug that we can have more of that. So yeah, I'm Tara Rynders. I'm a nurse and an artist and an advanced grief recovery specialist. And I think before I jump in, I wanted to share a little bit about my grief and what I've grieved over many years, and how that's informed me as a nurse in my practice of connecting and having empathy with my patients and coworkers. And so when I was 26, my mother passed away from cancer, and she was 49. Shortly after that, my sister had a disease process called acute disseminating encephalomyelitis, where she went from being completely healthy and normal to a coma within 12 hours. And so she was I lived with her in a rehabilitation community in Roseville, California for multiple months before she came to Craig Hospital in Denver. And she's still unfortunately very disabled from that and has unable to speak, but mentally there, but just locked in her body. She just had her birthday yesterday, actually. And then a few years after that, my brother, he was diagnosed with schizophrenia and also was born with spina bifida, was in the hospital, and he was actually in jail, and because he wandered a lot with his mental illness. So he went into the hospital and he passed away, and they never informed us. So he basically refused care, and they let him, and he died of sepsis. Lastly, my experience personally, I've had these experiences along the way of caregivers and family members with death and dying, but this was my first experience as a patient, for me to see the system from the inside. And I had an ectopic pregnancy that burst, and they called it code yellow because I was bleeding internally. And I remember I passed out completely, and I remember my nurse took my hand and she said, "I'm here and you're going to be okay." And I remember just thanking her for remembering me, because I was so scared, and I couldn't speak, and that she connected with me emotionally and saw me as a person. So I began, after all these experiences of grief, I began doing research on, there's got to be a better way that we work with patients. I wanted to be a better nurse after these experiences. And my research led to burnout and fatigue, and that our nurses are tired and they're not being cared for, and same with our physicians. So I created a performance called First Do No Harm that was meant to raise awareness. And it was an immersive theater performance that took place at Rose Medical Center in the hospital, in the halls of the hospital, that was open to the public, as well as nurses and the executive team and administration all came in, and they followed us around throughout the hospital. And there's these performances that took place in different areas. And what it did was it gave voice to nurses, because it was told from the perspective of family and nursing. And nurses said, "Thank you for telling my story. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for putting words to the grief that we experience that we don't even have words for yet." And that felt for me that it was a success for that very reason. So then we did workshops with nurses where we used art and play and wonder. So I worked with Edith Weiss, who scripted First Do No Harm, and Leah Bonfilio from New York City, Jad Take from Lebanon, these incredible artists, and Claire Hammer, who has his PhD from NYU in applied theater. We created these workshops for nurses and brought in artists and nurses together, and they played and they acted and they created characters, and we just really disrupted the way that they think normally, that I think as a nurse normally, and we're able to come up with different solutions, to the creative solutions to the issues we see in healthcare. And in order to do this, what I want to talk about briefly is just the myths surrounding grief. So as a grief recovery specialist, I come alongside people who are grieving and help them find completion around their grief. So the first myth is, don't feel bad. And I think we're told this all the time, don't feel what you're feeling. My daughter a few months ago came home when she was still in preschool, came home and said, "Mom, my teacher doesn't like me." And the first thing I said to her was, "That's not true. Of course your teacher likes you. Like, that's what they have to. I mean, you're their student." And then I stopped myself, because what I did was I immediately told her what she was feeling wasn't true. And so that created a conflict. And many times we're told not to feel bad. And that creates a conflict because we do feel bad. So we stop sharing, and we stop offering our real, true emotions to people. The other is replace the loss. We're taught from a young age to replace the loss, to we'll get you a new dog, we'll get you a new goldfish, here's a cookie. All these, because we don't want to see our children or to see each other hurting. And really, instead of, we can't replace the loss. I can't replace my mother. I can't replace the sister I once knew. But what I had to do is go around and do the work around emotionally completing those relationships. We're also taught to grieve alone and to isolate. And we're taught that, and then we want to do that. That's kind of something we want to do because we don't want to show our true emotions. And in the workshops, that's what we were taking away, these myths, and we were bringing nurses together. And so we were all grieving together. We were sharing our stories, talking about the grief that we'd experienced with certain patients. And the feedback was incredible, because the nurses felt like, I've talked to my partners about this, I've talked to therapists, but this was the first time I talked to somebody about this who really understood what I was going through, because they are also experiencing it themselves. So we experienced this idea of collective care, not just self-care, but collectively caring for one another, that we actually are tapping into ourselves as healers and nurses, but not just for our patients, but for each other. Just give it time is another myth. And I think something that been realizing in general, especially with the systemic racism that we're becoming awoke to, is that time doesn't heal. it changes things, but you have to have action. So you have to put action behind whatever you're trying to do to shift. And whether it's your grief or it's the systemic racism, we have to have action. There's been a lot of times since our Black community has been enslaved, and since then things have not shifted. They've only gotten hidden. And so we have to put the action behind it. And in grief, it's the same thing. We have to act and complete these losses. Be strong. We're told to be strong all the time. And I say, yes, be strong, but let's change our definition of what strong is. Strength is vulnerability and honesty and sharing how we feel. And so I encourage you to find a group of people that you can be honest with and share with. Another myth is keep busy. If we can distract ourselves, we don't have to feel it, and maybe it'll go away, but it eventually comes out in different ways. So through the arts, I was able with co-directors to create these spaces that really took these myths out and instead infused them with safe spaces for us to talk about and share our feelings. We created, during COVID, I worked with nurses and we told our COVID stories. I remember when after that and so the nurses would journal, and then they would create movements to different parts of their story, and they would share these stories. And the other nurses would learn their movements. So we're all together creating movement and sharing and taking on each other's stories. Most recently, we've created resiliency moments, which is being sponsored by Reimagine and the festival that's happening, and we're going to be having a share out on July 2nd. And it was really incredible because Andy Engel, who works with Reimagine, partnered us with Staten Island hospice nurses and social workers. So we created this platform where the nurses come on, just like a dose of togetherness, and then we break out into different rooms, and there's one nurse and one artist, and together they have this artistic experience where the artist creates this installation that's very interactive and creates a space for the nurse to share their emotions and experience of what they're dealing with in an artistic way. And it felt, it was very healing for them from the feedback, and they actually decided to bring it on now for their entire staff, which is exciting. So I'd invite you to join us on July 2nd. I think we'll put a link in, but it's 12 o'clock Pacific, 1 Mountain, and 3 p.m. Eastern, where you'll hear actually from the nurses and the artists about their experience and how the arts was used to heal in their grief together. So the arts for me have always been a part of my resiliency, and they've helped me understand what I am feeling, because I think a lot of times we have a hard time even saying how we feel. So when I move, I'm a dancer. That's like my language is dance. And so when I move, I'm able to express myself and how I feel. And so it's taking what has helped me and hopefully offering it to others to do the same. So I encourage you to join in. It'll be really interesting to hear from all the different perspectives. And yeah, thank you. I think that's really all I have. And if you have any questions about grief recovery, I'm happy to answer anything. You can reach out to me as well. So thank you.
Tara, thank you so much. Thank you for your incredible work. And I can't wait to join you you see this on the 2nd? Is that on the 2nd for this event, because it just sounds so interesting, the combination of the people you have joining and how I can't believe it's going to now be a program throughout the hospital.
Yeah, it's true.
So congratulations. That's really amazing. And I really also appreciate how what you shared with us is going to dovetail into what we're going to talk about together now in the breakout rooms. Just a little bit of background on these, as those of you who have been here before know, we're going to get into groups, and whoever's wearing the brightest shirt will be the moderator. I don't know if you guys have been adjusting your wardrobe accordingly for these, for noticing more or less bright colors. I don't know. But one person will answer the daily questions, then the next person, et cetera, et cetera. Today we have a full slate of questions, so I don't think there's going to be extra time to chat about anything else. You're going to get some broadcast cues from us. When you get the last one, if you want to quickly exchange contact information with anyone you met, you can do that privately via chat, but everything here is optional, although we do suggest you stay for the breakouts. If you have any questions, you can always email us at hello@letsreimagine.org or click exit and you'll return to the main room if something is amiss. Now, please keep the conversations confidential. Only share your story without solicited advice. You always have the right to pass, and keep your responses relatively short to about 3 minutes a person, so everyone has a time to share. Okay, so based on what Tara was sharing with us, and this is why I'm looking forward to today. First, share your name and location so we can get just a little bit of context. And then, what are you currently grieving and how do you feel? And now when you think about this question, Tara, correct me if I'm wrong, but it doesn't necessarily have to be a person, right?
Right, it could be a loss of a relationship as well, or a pet or something. Mm-hmm.
Or yeah, some difference in the way things maybe were, that they're not going to be again. There's so many places we grieve. And then how do you feel? But then I think what's really interesting here is, here are these 6 myths that Tara mentioned. Don't feel bad, replace the loss, grieve alone, just give it time, be strong for others, and keep busy. Then the question is, with which myth do you relate to the most and why? And then finally, to kind of sum it up, why do you think it's hard to tell the truth about how we feel? What's so hard about that? I mean, I think it's hard for all of us, but let's kind of explore together why that is. And so Dara's going to copy these questions and place them in the chat. And on the click of a button, we're going to go off into the vast corners of the internet and talk about that with our new friends.